Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Daily Dose. It's Guest Thursday, and we are delighted to have a new to both of us guest, Dr. Christina Kraft, joining us. Christina is a recommendation from Wendy Wheeler, who was our guest before Christmas, which feels like it was maybe 35 years ago. So good morning, Christina. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so glad to be able to do this for you this morning as well.
Great.
Thank you.
So you're a chiropractor, correct?
Yeah. Yes, I am actually. In about 30 minutes, I've got patients waiting to be seen today. So yes, I've been a practicing chiropractor for about 13 years now.
Okay. And that somehow plays into your whole journey with addiction. So let's start where we always start, which is take us back to wherever you want to go to what got you to where you are today, Christina.
Okay. Well, I grew up near Minot, North Dakota. So just a little bit of background about me. I grew up on a small farming operation near Minot, North Dakota. And I always knew that I was going to go into healthcare and nursing. My mother was a nurse. My dad was a farmer and worked for the railroad. And I just knew something about sports, athleticism. I mean, that's really where I was kind of really shining at the time. And I knew at about 16 years old that I wanted to be a chiropractor. So I just did all the things. I went off to Minot State University, got my degree, and then I went off to chiropractic school in Iowa and graduated in 2009.
Okay.
And after I got into my professional career, I started to realize that, maybe there was something a little off with the way I was behaving, the way I was using alcohol. And I found myself in a long a cycle of funks. I like to tell my patients even know this about me. Those that are coming into the office who find out that I'm in a long-term recovery are kind of like, wow, well, I am too, they'll tell me. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't matter how old you are, what your profession is, what age, I already said that age, but who you are, it doesn't matter who you are, you can follow and find yourself in. And that was me. In about 2014, then I was practicing for several years, about 3-4 years. I found myself just not feeling well. And I was going into this cycle of just, I'm going to stop drinking on my own. And I would do that for 6 months at a time or 3 months at a time and try it on my own. And I didn't really know what recovery meetings were at the time. And I finally ended up having kind of a rock bottom in 2014, later in the year. And I ended up in a recovery program, and a big change for me. I actually closed and sold my practice at the time and took 3 years off of my profession, moved to Fargo-Moorhead, and here I am now, 6 years later, happier than ever. Of course, there's a lot of things we skipped talking about right there in that little bit of brief introduction, but that's where I'm at now. Had to lose a lot of things to get back better than ever. And even my patients tell me, they're like, well, we're so glad that we found you. Well, you found me because I'm sober. That's why you found me. And I always tell people that if they really want to know a little bit more about Dr. Christina Kraft, I am Christina, but Dr. Kraft has a story. And Dr. Kraft's story is that there's a sobriety story. That's why this practice is even here. That's why I'm even here, alive and well and happy, and happier than ever, to be honest with you guys. So,
well, great. Congratulations, first of all. That's an incredible story. And, we know that for every success story, there are a lot of unsuccessful stories, but the goal of Daily Dose is to help people find more success where they can, and to be inspired by other people too. I think your point about age and profession and where you're from is so true. There's such a public acceptance of some kinds of people are alcoholics and other kinds of people just enjoy alcohol. Well, alcohol for some people is alcoholism. Mm-hmm. You have a doctor in front of your name, whether you're a chiropractor or a medical doctor or a PhD, somehow that is a more acceptable level of alcoholism, which is, another way that we just other certain kinds of people or feel very comfortable with our own position in the world, certainly.
Right.
Anything you want to say?
What was difficult about moving, restarting up your practice? Did you go into it saying, all right, I am a recovering alcoholic, I'm just going to bring that right to the front as soon as I open the doors the first day?
That's why I think the 3 years that I decided, that was the time that I decided to take off, do the work behind the scenes that a lot of people like you guys are hearing about. Oh, she moved and started this big, beautiful practice. It was a time that I went and traveled in 2017. I opened this practice in 2018, by the way, here in Moorhead. I'm in Moorhead, Kraft Chiropractic in Moorhead. And I went to visit some old friends of mine who were patients of mine in Nebraska. I actually was a practicing chiropractor right out of school in Nebraska for a few years. So I went and visited some friends. And at this time, again, I'm 2 years sober, not practicing. And at that time, I started another business because I'm an entrepreneurial spirit. So I was doing photography I still do that, but I do that very part-time now. For 6 years, I was doing that, making a living. And I went to visit some friends and they said, Doc, you need to get back to practice. Like, you need to get back to practice. When are you getting back to practice? And some other family members would tell me that too. And I said, when source tells me to, when I'm, I don't call the shots anymore, because the shots I was calling before in my life weren't working for me very well.
Yeah.
Okay. And being I'm a planner and all these things. And so when I drove back from that trip from Northeast Nebraska, I had a wash of just this, what I would say kind of what we would call innate, okay, you're ready. Mm-hmm. And not somebody, this next person, this person to lead me to believe to get back to practice. But I'll be honest with you, Maz, I was very scared to get back to practice and start telling people what I went through. But it was a gentle process. And it's a process and a grateful attitude that I had about it, because I just said in my beginning, I wouldn't be loving if I wouldn't be. I probably would lose everything again, including my license, including not my doctorate. You can't take away the degree, but when you stay connected, sober, many can lose their license. And so there's so much at play here when it comes to being comfortable about it. Some people in my recovery, to be honest, don't say so much. Don't tell people too much. Don't tell people too much out there. It's like, well, what's the point of that? Because there's some people that don't tell anybody that they're going through recovery. And there's people like me that are super open and honest about it. Basically, and that's the biggest thing, is being willing to be open and honest about it. Yes, we have recovery meetings that we keep some of that stuff behind closed doors, but when we choose to come out and tell people what we choose to tell them, hey, recovery, and I'm a very successful chiropractor now, why not say that and tell them your story? That's kind of the point of getting sober. You have to kind of share the message. At least that's the way that I look at it. But no problems at all for me to share about. Patient asks me, gets to that point of asking me. They are made to, when they check in and I look at their intake forms and they have that in their history, we briefly stop there for a moment. And maybe by their 3rd or 4th visit with me, they may just happen to find that out in a really comfortable conversation with me. So, but I missed practicing, but it was the best thing that I could have done for myself.
Yeah. To
get myself grounded. I mean, the list goes on and on of the things that I gained in that time. And I'm continuing to work on, by the way. It's not like I just went back to work full time in my profession and I don't struggles, absolutely, that I do, but they're not near what used to be, because
so we're having some technical difficulties a little bit. I hope that it's maybe just Tough. I hope it's just maybe for us, but now we've got dogs fighting. It's quite a morning here. At any rate, I love that reflection.
Now I can hear you guys.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what's happening or why we're having troubles this morning. I wish I understood the internet, but that would make me a gabillionaire if I did. So I guess it's not going to be my thing. I think I'm so inspired by anybody, including Dr. Did we lose you altogether? Nope, there you are. Okay.
There you go.
I'm so inspired by anyone who's willing to come out
here
and talk about their story, because I think there is still such terrific shame around it. There's such fear of judgment. There's such worry about repercussions. Will people not trust you? I certainly, we had many conversations about it at our house before we decided to go public with Maz's story. But really, and we've said this, that the response has been so profoundly positive. And I'm assuming that you have experienced that as well, Christina, that any downside to it is mitigated by the incredible upsides.
Oh my goodness, yes. And the fact that is not only in my professional walls, okay? I mean, my walls are all about recovery in here. I mean, the beautiful thing about the chiropractic 33 principles is that the body's ability to heal itself and the principles of recovery, they're like married together in the office this beautiful way. And when you find a really awesome practitioner along the way, and I'm not saying it's me for all my people who are maybe going to watch this, but they're going to tell doc, there's something different about you. And I go, well, could it possibly be that I'm a principled person, that I follow a very set value of standards for my life now, and I teach them the same exact things, whether they have an alcohol problem or not. So I have to marry, if you will, I have 8 essential principles for healing and performance. And then I talk a little bit about what recovery is also in realms of step work with people that don't know anything about step work. And they're like, oh my God, I think their dad has an alcohol problem. And then it just starts these questions, and it's like, maybe they need some help. I mean, I'm not a recovery coach. I am not a recovery expert as far as like, I take care of people's wellness in their body with body work and chiropractic and oils and nutrition and that, but it ends up in conversation real quickly. My story within me about recovery, the body's ability to heal itself and the body's ability to, get through anything that it literally comes at it. I mean, I'm going to say it, including a virus, that anything that can come at us, we can overcome. It starts here though. And there's just so much, I'm not going to say uneducation out there or education around alcoholism, but you're right, Dana, when you told me about like the stigma and people are just like the shame and stuff. I felt that in the beginning, and now I don't feel that at all. So it will, like the promises tell us, they will go away. The guilt and the shame and the economic insecurities that that we learn in recovery program. All of that starts to really go away, and you start to become really who you freaking are. Yeah. I thank my profession for that, for its really, really stout principles and saying, you got to spread the message and tell people that their bodies, they have the ability to heal. Okay. I don't heal anybody. They heal themselves. You heal you, period. Same thing in recovery. It's an individual journey, as many cells we have in our body, right? So it's an incredible feat to stay sober as long as I have. And I am now over 6 years sober. It's an incredible feat. I celebrate it every year with I even put a little post on social media, because you know what? Some people won't, I'll be the one that will. And I used to get told, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah. What's the big darn deal, right? So I also commend for you guys doing this podcast. There needs to be more and more conversations around real freaking people. That's my word of the day, freaking. Real people. Yeah. Real people like me and you guys that are really interesting. Because Dana, I've followed you around and I've seen you speak at some things before. And you're pretty interesting. Like,
Thank you.
I think the most interesting people are the ones that have had their bouts with alcohol and addiction, drugs and alcohol.
The biggest things. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. My favorite people are the ones who are in recovery, and they have incredible stories. And they're just really beautiful people.
Yep.
And they're so willing to help connect the dots for people, because in many people who maybe don't understand us, that's okay. But they do want something that we have. Mm-hmm. And I always tell them, sometimes I forget, but it's sobriety. Yeah. I am clear of all drugs and alcohol. And all things except this beautiful tea I'm drinking this morning. You know, there's a few things I still love. My coffee, my tea. I ain't getting rid of that, right?
Yeah.
Here's to the tea.
Cheers.
I look forward to the week Lutheran tea at AA meetings, coffee at AA meetings. Somehow you grow to love it.
Well, and what's really cool about tea is that I think that the blends are endless. I mean,
they seem to be.
You can't stop once you start. So
it's true. Well, Christina, thanks for sharing your story, first of all, and for bringing such joy to it. It's very clear that you are personally joyfully sober, but that you are using that joy to also find other people who need to know that if they are in sobriety, they can celebrate it. If they aren't in sobriety, they can get there. And more importantly, for someone like me who has not had to go through it, but has lived with it, that there's so much value to the steps of getting sober, to the lifestyle around it that pertains to all of us. We can all live better, more intentional, more conscious, more present lives. And the gift of sobriety is being able to let everyone know that they have those opportunities too, in my opinion.
Right.
And you're clearly doing that. It's amazing.
Yeah. Every aspect of my day revolves around, my morning routine. If somebody asks me, what's your morning routine? My morning routine, I used to be at 5 o'clock in the morning at the gym in my old life. Okay. All things I did revolved around bigger, better, faster, do. It led me to crash drinking. Okay. That type of lifestyle is only sustainable so long. Real healing. I see college students right now and go, oh, bless your heart. Because I see myself in a lot of these younger people that are doing all of the activities. I was that person. I was in the music, the sports, the drama, why not become a doctor? So I was just this perfect storm, if you will, to throw into the collegiate system. Finding alcohol was so nice because it allowed me to chill out and to this beautiful mind that my mother and dad gave me is just so big. It allowed me to slow down, and it allowed me to get out of anxiety, and it allowed me to be more social, and it allowed me to do these things. But then I found myself, years of doing that. I go, something's not right here. When your tolerance is different than your other peers, and you go, I'm obsessing over alcohol. Do you obsess over alcohol like I do? No, you have a drinking problem. Like, no. And then 15 years later, you're in rehab. Yeah. You don't understand it. That's why I'm sure I have a book in me. Okay. I don't know. I'm sure I have a book in me about what I now understand about alcoholism and being around alcoholism growing up and just understanding the behaviors, the emotions and the behaviors behind alcoholism is flabbergasting. And I was that person. And it's so hard to look at yourself. It's really hard to look at yourself. Now, my partner is not in the program, not in recovery, but we've been together through this whole entire thing. His name's Matt. And I mean, I can't even tell you, I'm going to have to give him a huge pat on the back every day for doing the best that he can to understand what I continue to go through and what I went through in the beginning. We just started dating. This is crazy. We had just started dating when I was not feeling as well as I could have been feeling at the time. And about 6 months after that is when I decided to get sober. So for him to stick with me throughout this whole time, incredible feat for him as well. And I, as far as also with, the both of you sharing your story together as well. But I would have to say that if I were to say and kind of like give any words of wisdom to anybody out there, a really good example is when a friend comes and says, I think my sister, or I think my brother, or I think my son, what do? I literally just tell them to go find a recovery meeting. Meetings work for some people, meetings don't work for others. I get that. That's where I started, and that's what worked for me. So finding them the meeting that they need to go to, getting them connected with somebody like a sponsor, and going that direction and seeing what happens, because it's just a lot of work. My first sponsor would know that I was a lot of work. I was unraveling a lot of old repressed emotions. And now you can see the real me, because the truth is out. That's another thing too, when you hold on to your secrets and you feel shamed and guilted about it, you're only going to keep yourself more sick of the physical things and the emotional things that you're holding within you. So again, sobriety has also unleashed this ability for me to heal from emotional things, physical things, as well as maybe some spiritual maladies as well. So I would definitely hands down tell people to don't feel ashamed to ask for help, because I did. I absolutely was one of those people that was afraid to ask for help, because I'm going to be very honest. I did not want to stop drinking. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't really know anybody who wants to stop drinking who has chosen to, because that's part of the challenge is like, I like wine. I don't like to drink wine till I'm drunk. That's never enjoyable to me. If I've had a second glass of wine, I spend days wondering why I had a second glass of wine. So it's, it's not the problem for me that it is for someone who tries it and thinks, this is good, I'm going to do this, so it's just, it's such a hard place. It's the only thing that will kill you that we really look at people and celebrate for doing too much of. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
So I think we have so much work to do culturally, and we have so much work to do individually, whether it's a problem for us specifically or not. It's just, it's a societal issue that we just have to keep working to strip down. Not so that nobody's ever drinking again. And we're not trying to get rid of alcohol. We're just trying to help people realize they can ask for help if they need it, that they can be okay without it. In fact, they can be better. If I think about Maz as an alcoholic and Maz as a sober person, like what alcohol could possibly outweigh the benefits to him as a sober person? None.
I mean, you touched on it yourself. Being sober kind of fixed everything. It gave me a fantastic peace of mind and an inner calm. And then with that, I knew I could just go off and I could handle anything that the world threw at me. It's just
I'm usually, I tell people too, you know, when I have those principles, all of the meditation and breath work and barefoot walks I do and music that I create, all of it has to do with this peace of mind that has been brought, like you're saying, but it's allowing our, what we call in chiropractic, our innate potential, which was always there,
Yeah.
is now really able to be expressed through us because we aren't covering up with alcohol or
Well,
for some people
so
drugs, but alcohol. Mm-hmm.
yeah, just to further that, because I think it's so valuable to continue to equate this with a larger audience. You're covering it up with food, with gambling, with too much shopping, with credit card debt, with lying about the success of your children, with staying in a bad relationship. I mean, alcohol is just one way that people deny themselves their true self.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I think that's why these conversations resonate with people. It's less about the substance and more about the fact that we're all hiding under something to some degree. How can you set it aside? It's that, you know, this little light of mine, don't put a bushel over it. Let it shine. Be your truest, best self. That's what we're here for. And we're lucky if we get to do it. If we do the work we need to do to get to be our truest, best selves.
Yes. Well, that's, like I said, being able to be a practitioner that is sober is a blessed.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed. I'm happy to share that with you guys. I'm happy to share that with my practice members when the time is correct or right. But one last point that I would say for those of you that are potentially listening to this today and are let's just say that parent or that spouse that's in it right now and they don't know what to do, because I get a lot of those questions. Well, I think the first step is knowing that person, even just understanding that other person is really not well.
Yeah. The
alcohol using person is not well. Understanding that first is step one. Because if we just keep denying that there's not a problem with their drinking, you know, but it comes down to me, the person who's actually in it, to take the action. Our families love the bejesus out of us, right? But it's going to be the action of the individual, whether they are, I have people I know that got sober at 15 years old and they're still sober today, or I got sober at 30, 31. So it doesn't, you know, really matter when you start, but you got to get started. For those that want to, I'm going to be honest, alcohol, I know if I were to go back to drinking, alcohol is not going to keep me alive. So it's a life or death situation for many people. And it's really, really, really important to understand that, at least from my perspective. If I were to go out there again and start using again, I wouldn't be here. That's how I used before, and that's how I would probably use again. Yeah. And probably hurt a lot more people along the way than just myself.
Yeah.
So reaching out for help, staying connected to the people that a sober person has connections to the other helpers in our community. So that's the other thing that I think that I would say, just in kind of a PSA, public service announcement, just please don't feel afraid, unashamed. We've heard it all. We've heard it all, the stories that people have gone through and the terrible things that they think they've done. Just don't worry about that. Find the people that you need to get help and move forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Christina, we know you have patients to get to who are anxious for you, for whatever they're going to get from you today. So
well, thank you for sharing it. Clearly you do fantastic work. So congratulations on the 6 years. And good luck with everything.
6 years. It's a blessed 6 years.
Absolutely.
6 more, and then 6 more, and then 6 more. And one day at a time.
Yeah. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. Everybody else, we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.